The screen fades to black, a heartbeat echoes. Then we hear it, Dexter's chilling voice. "I'm not the monster you think I am." But in this new trailer, every frame screams the opposite. Episode 8 isn't just another chapter. It's the turning point where the hunter risks becoming the prey. The trailer doesn't give us much, but if you watch closely, it's full of small clues, hidden messages, and old ghosts crawling back from Dexter's past. Today, we're going to break it all down, frame by frame, and uncover what this shocking teaser really means for the resurrection of everyone's favorite dark passenger. Asterisk, the trailer begins with a heavy silence, a silence that feels louder than any soundtrack. We see Dexter standing alone in the dark, his face half lit, half hidden. That image alone sets the mood. He's a man trapped between two worlds, still pretending to live a normal life, while his true nature glows from the shadows. From the very first shot, the trailer tells us this episode is not about peace, it's about escalation. Asterisk then, quick flashes cut across the screen, a knife glints under dim light. Police sirens scream in the distance. We see what looks like Dexter's hands shaking slightly, almost as if for the first time in years he's not fully in control. The pacing of the trailer is frantic, not slow and methodical like earlier seasons, but sharp, rushed, like a heartbeat spiking before. Something terrible happens. Asterisk, another moment stands out. A shot of Harrison, Dexter's son. His expression isn't the innocent, confused teenager we first met. No, here, he's colder, his eyes sharp, his body tense. The trailer seems to be pushing the idea that Harrison is no longer just a bystander in his father's world. He's stepping into it, and that raises a dangerous question. Is episode 8 about Dexter protecting his son from the darkness, or about passing that darkness on? Asterisk, the music in the trailer builds slowly, layering tension. First, low strings, then heavier beats. Finally, a chilling pause before Dexter's voice cuts through with one of his trademark inner monologues. We don't hear the full line, just a fragment, something like it always ends the same way. And then, smash cut to black. The decision to end on silence instead of blood or violence is clever. It leaves the audience uneasy, wondering if this is Dexter's final game, or if the nightmare is only beginning. Asterisk, throughout the trailer, colors are muted. Grays, shadows, and washed-out blues dominate the screen. It doesn't feel like the warm Miami nights of early Dexter seasons. It feels colder, harsher, like every trace of normal life has drained away. This is a man who no longer hides behind charm or humor. This is a predator fully exposed, surrounded by danger, and maybe even hunted himself. Asterisk, there's also the way the camera lingers on Dexter's eyes. Close-ups, longer than usual, showing the faint twitch, the unease, the slight exhaustion that suggests he's been running too long. The trailer seems to be screaming, Dexter Morgan is tired, and a tired killer makes mistakes. Episode 8 might just be the moment where his perfect mask finally cracks. Asterisk, but it's not just Dexter. Quick cuts show glimpses of familiar faces. Maybe police, maybe new enemies. A woman's voice is heard saying, "We know what you are." But the shot doesn't reveal who she is. This single line changes everything. Is it Harrison speaking? Is it a detective? Or could it even be a hallucination? The voice of Dip haunting him once again. That's the brilliance of this teaser. Nothing is confirmed, but everything feels threatening. Asterisk, and then, of course, the final shot. A drop of blood sliding slowly off a knife's edge, falling into the darkness. No body, no scream, no resolution, just the blood. That's the signature of Dexter, not showing us the kill, but letting us imagine it. And in that moment, the tone is set. Episode 8 isn't promising answers. It's promising chaos, consequences, and the feeling that this time, Dexter might not escape. Asterisk, Dexter has always been to people at once the quiet man who blends into society and the predator who watches from the shadows. But in this trailer, we don't see that smooth balance anymore. What we see is a man on edge, A man pulled in two directions, almost fraying at the seams. His face tells the story. The calm mask he wore for years is cracking. His eyes linger too long. His breathing is heavy. His silence feels dangerous. It's no longer about hiding the monster inside. It's about whether he can even control it at all. The most important relationship the trailer teases is, of course, between Dexter and his son Harrison. When Harrison first appeared, many fans wondered, will he be Dexter's redemption or his downfall? This trailer seems to lean toward the darker answer. Harrison isn't shown as a confused boy anymore. His posture is stronger, his stare colder, his presence heavier. There's a quick scene, almost too fast to catch, where his hand hovers near a weapon. Not a knife, but something less controlled, more brittle. That single image suggests a shift. Harrison isn't copying Dexter's code. He's creating his own. And that is far more dangerous. The bond between father and son is at the heart of this season. But instead of showing moments of warmth, the trailer shows tension. A clipped exchange of words, a silence between them that feels louder than shouting. It's as if Harrison is testing Dexter, silently asking, why do you get to decide what's right and wrong? That kind of conflict isn't just emotional, it's lethal. Because if Harrison rejects his father's rules, then he becomes not a partner, but a rival. And for a man like Dexter, having your own son mirror your darkness without your control could be the ultimate punishment. But Harrison isn't the only focus. The trailer gives us glimpses of supporting characters who may play key roles in episode 8. There's a brief shot of a woman, her face partly obscured, her voice sharp, "We know what you are." This single moment shakes the entire narrative. Who is she, a detective piecing together the puzzle? A past survivor resurfacing for revenge? Or is this Deb, Dexter's dead sister, returning once more as the voice of his guilty conscience? The trailer never clarifies, but that's intentional. It plants the seed of paranoia. Dexter is being watched, and whoever is watching isn't afraid anymore. Another quick glimpse shows police lights reflecting in Dexter's eyes. This is no accident. The creative choice here is obvious. The law is closer than ever. For years, Dexter danced around suspicion, always one step ahead. But in this trailer, the way the camera frames him against flashing red and blue lights tells us the truth. The hunter is cornered. And cornered predators fight differently. There's also the haunting presence of Deb, not physically but emotionally. Even without her direct appearance, the trailer feels soaked in her influence. Lines like "it always ends the same way" echo her role as Dexter's moral compass, or rather, his ghostly tormentor. The idea of Deb still haunting him, reminding him of the inevitable fall, makes this episode feel heavier, more final. It's as though every choice Dexter makes now is shadowed by the voice of the sister he couldn't save. And then there's the villain, or at least the shadow of one. Trailers rarely give away the antagonist directly, but here, we sense someone else is pulling strings. Quick shots of an unknown figure moving in the dark, a blurred face, a chilling laugh, all fragments. Whoever this enemy is, they know Dexter. They know enough to be dangerous, and that's what makes them terrifying. Because Dexter isn't worried about random killers or sloppy criminals. He fears those who can match his precision. And episode 8 feels like it's bringing him face to face with someone who can. When you stitch all these moments together, the broken mask of Dexter, the rising menace of Harrison, the haunting whispers of Deb, the faceless threat of law enforcement, and the shadow of a new villain, you get a trailer that isn't just about one man. It's about a storm of characters all closing in at once. And at the center of that storm, Dexter Morgan stands alone, bleeding, cornered, and perhaps for the first time, uncertain if he can escape. Every Dexter trailer has layers. On the surface, it teases violence, tension, and familiar inner monologues. But beneath that, It's built like a puzzle, small fragments designed to mislead, while quietly dropping hints about the true direction of the story. Episode 8's trailer is no different. If you pause on certain frames, slow down the pacing, and listen closely to the sound design, a new story begins to emerge, one that the creators don't want you to fully see, but want you to feel. The first hidden detail lies in the blood imagery. In one quick shot, a single drop of blood slides down the edge of a knife. We've seen this many times before in Dexter, but here, the drop doesn't fall onto a clean surface. Instead, it disappears into the shadows. That's symbolic, blood vanishing into darkness, a sign of truth being hidden, of crime swallowed whole. It could suggest that Dexter's actions in episode 8 won't leave the usual evidence trails. Maybe he's more careful, or maybe the story is suggesting that his sins are becoming impossible to trace. The darkness eats the blood, just as his life is being consumed by lies. Then there's the way the camera lingers on Harrison. In one frame, his silhouette mirrors Dexter's iconic killroom stance, shoulders squared, chin tilted slightly, eyes forward. This is a deliberate choice. The visual is telling us Harrison isn't just Dexter's son, he's his reflection, his possible replacement. And yet, notice the weapon he holds, not a precise knife, but something heavier, less surgical. That's a clue. Dexter has always lived by a code, choosing tools and methods with discipline. Harrison's choice of weapon shows rebellion, chaos, and a new kind of violence. This trailer plants that seed. Episode 8 might be the moment we see two different philosophies of killing collide. Asterisk sound design is another hidden clue. Twice, we hear faint echoes of whispers in the background, almost drowned out by music. Fans who slow the trailer down have noticed that the whispers sound like Deb's voice. She says something like "stop lying" or "it ends here." The fact that her voice is layered quietly into the soundscape is no accident. It suggests Deb's ghost is still part of Dexter's psyche, guiding him or tormenting him into facing an ending he's not ready to accept. If episode 8 is truly about resurrection, then Deb's presence isn't just a memory, it's a moral anchor, dragging Dexter deeper into guilt. Asterisk colors also play a symbolic role. The trailer is drenched in muted blues and grays, but there are sudden bursts of red, flashing lights, blood reflections, even Harrison's jacket in one frame. Red has always been the color of danger and exposure in Dexter. When it appears in quick bursts, it's usually foreshadowing someone getting too close, someone about to see the truth. One of those bursts comes right when the line we know, "What you are is spoken." That's not a coincidence. The red splash at that exact moment could symbolize exposure, Dexter's mask ripped away. Asterisk, another overlooked clue, is a framed photo glimpsed in the background of one shot. It's blurry, almost hidden, but fans have slowed it down. The photo seems to be of a child, younger Harrison, smiling. The placement of that photo, right next to Dexter in the frame, is powerful. It's as if the trailer is reminding us Dexter isn't just battling enemies outside. His greatest struggle is inside his home, with the boy who might inherit both his love and his darkness. The editing almost dares us to notice it, planting the question, what happens when your past self and your future self collide in the same room? Asterisk, and finally, there's the silence. Trailers usually end with impact, a gunshot, a scream, or a cliffhanger line. But here, it ends with nothing, just blackness, just absence. That silence is a symbol in itself. It's the silence of a predator waiting. It's the silence of a secret about to be revealed. And in Dexter's world, silence is more dangerous than sound. Because silence means he's lost control of the story, and when Dexter isn't the one narrating, things fall apart. Asterisk, all of these subtle choices, the vanishing blood, Harrison's mirrored stance, Deb's whispered voice, the splashes of red, the blurred family photo, and the suffocating silence are more than just trailer tricks. They're storytelling devices designed to warn us. Episode 8 won't just be another Dexter kill. It's going to be the unraveling of everything he's built, the merging of past and future, and the possible rise of someone even darker than him. Asterisk, if there's one thing Dexter has taught us, it's that nothing is ever as simple as it seems. The trailers always hide the real kills behind misdirection, but episode 8 feels different. It feels like a breaking point, the chapter where secrets collide and masks are ripped away. By looking at the trailer carefully, we can start piecing together what might actually happen, and the possibilities are chilling. Asterisk, the first and most obvious prediction is Dexter's exposure. The line, "We know what you are," is the clearest threat yet. The use of we instead of I suggests more than one person is closing in. It might not just be a lone detective or Harrison confronting him. It could be an entire group. The police, neighbors, or even people from his past. Episode 8 could be the moment Dexter's double life starts collapsing in front of multiple eyes, not just one. That would be a dramatic shift from the usual formula where Dexter silences the one person who gets too close. This time, the circle may be too wide to contain. Asterisk, the second major prediction revolves around Harrison's dark path. The trailer paints him not as a side character, but as a potential mirror image of Dexter. The way he grips that blunt weapon suggests anger, chaos, and a thirst for violence that lacks structure. If Dexter represents precision and control, Harrison could represent raw impulse. Episode 8 may put father and son in direct conflict, Dexter trying to force the code onto him, while Harrison rejects it. The most chilling possibility that Harrison doesn't just rebel, he kills. And if he does, episode 8 could mark the true resurrection of the dark passenger, not in Dexter, but in his son. Asterisk, another likely thread is the return of Deb's influence. The whispers, the moral warnings, the fragmented lines in the trailer all suggest she isn't leaving Dexter's mind. In fact, she might be the one pushing him toward a choice. Deb's ghost has always represented guilt and morality. But what if in episode 8, her voice convinces him that the only way to protect Harrison is to step aside? That could mean Dexter sacrificing himself, letting Harrison take the lead, or even preparing to die at his son's hands. It would be a brutal but poetic turn, the sister he failed now guiding him to his final punishment. Asterisk, but what about the villain teased in the shadows? Trailers rarely show the antagonist directly, which means this faceless figure could be central to episode 8. One theory is that the villain isn't new at all, but someone from Dexter's past, a survivor, a detective, or even a connection to one of his old victims. The shadowy shots and mocking laughter suggest someone who knows his methods and isn't afraid of him. If that's true, episode 8 might feature a showdown unlike any we've seen before, Dexter against someone who thinks like him, hunts like him, and maybe even understands his code. A mirror image, but without the restraint. Asterisk, then there's the symbolism of the trailer's silence. Ending on silence could mean a finality, a death, but whose? Fans might expect a secondary character, but the editing suggests otherwise. The lingering shots on Dexter's face, the weariness in his eyes, the heavy breathing, all of it feels like foreshadowing. Episode 8 could be the moment Dexter makes his last mistake. The silence may represent his absence, his fall, the void left behind when the predator is finally caught. Asterisk, one haunting possibility is that episode 8 ends with a reversal. For years, Dexter narrated the story. He controlled the perspective. But what if this time, the narration shifts? What if the final monologue isn't Dexter's voice, but Harrison's? That single change would signal a passing of the torch. Dexter's world doesn't die with him. It mutates, grows darker, and continues through his son. That would explain the title Resurrection. It isn't Dexter's resurrection at all. It's Harrison's. Asterisk, so, to piece it all together, episode 8 might be the turning point where Dexter's mask collapses, his enemies close in, and Harrison either becomes his greatest failure or his blood-soaked legacy. The ghosts of his past, the threats of the present, and the shadow of his son's future all collide here. The real question isn't whether Dexter survives. The real question is, who will carry the dark passenger forward when the blood finally stops dripping? And that's what makes this trailer so powerful. It doesn't just tease another kill. It teases the end of a cycle and maybe the beginning of a new one. So what does all of this mean? The episode 8 trailer doesn't just tease a new chapter. For Dexter, it hints at something bigger, something final, something irreversible. The imagery of blood disappearing into darkness, the coldness in Harrison's eyes, the ghostly whispers of Deb, and the faceless threat lurking in the shadows. All of it builds to one truth. This isn't a story about Dexter escaping again. This is a story about what happens when the mask finally breaks, when every lie collapses, and when the monster can no longer hide in plain sight. For years, Dexter has survived by staying one step ahead. But in this trailer, every frame feels like the walls are closing in. His son is watching, the police are circling, and his conscience is screaming louder than ever. Episode 8 isn't shaping up to be another game of cat and mouse. It feels like the moment where Dexter must choose between two impossible fates: destroy himself to protect his son, or drag Harrison down into the darkness with him. The beauty of this trailer is that it refuses to answer the question. It shows us knives, blood, whispers, and fear, but no resolution. It leaves us in the silence, forced to imagine the outcome. Will Dexter's legacy end with him, or will Harrison carry it forward into something far worse? And maybe that's the most terrifying part, because Dexter's greatest fear has never been dying. His greatest fear has always been that someone else, someone he loves, might become just like him. Episode 8 promises chaos, revelations, and a reckoning years in the making. And as the trailer fades to black, it leaves us with one question, echoing in the dark. When the blood stops dripping, whose hands will it be on, Dexter's or Harrison's?